How do you weight cut without hunger pains? You don't cut too much weight and you start early. Those are the big ones. I also will do like water loading, which helps. I know that for me, at the amateur level, let's talk about weight cutting a little bit. Yeah, let's commit to this. All right. Taking notes. So at the amateur level, a lot of times you are weighing in like hours before you fight. You know, you'll weigh in at 10 and you'll be fighting at noon, or you'll weigh in at 5 and you'll be fighting at 7. So you can't get too crazy with the water cutting at the amateur level. Okay. If you cut a whole bunch of water weight, then you're going to be less durable because you got less fluid in your brain. Okay. So you're not going to take punches as well. And your cardio is going to suffer from that weight cut. So, I really tell guys, I know I can diet my way down 3-ish pounds a week. So you got to do the math out, okay? So let's say you got to fight in 4 weeks, okay? All right, so in 4 weeks, I know that if I can lose 3 pounds a week, then I can diet my way down, all right, I can lose 12 pounds that way, all right? And then I also know that that final week, in the 2 days leading up to the fight, if I cut my carbs, all right, then I can lose 5 pounds that final week. So that really buys me an extra 2 pounds. So that's 14 pounds. So I know, let's say that I had to fight at 165. So if I had to fight at 165 and I'm a month out and I know that I got 14 pounds, then that means I could be 179 and still make weight and I'd be okay. Now, I don't ever let myself drift that far from weight, but I could. Another thing that you can do is I know that I can just aspirate out overnight. I can lose 9 pounds of water weight, assuming that I've done the water loading. So for 14 days leading up to my weigh-in date, I'll drink 2 gallons of water a day. I'll drink 2 gallons of water a day. Really overload your body with that water so that your body's working hard. You're going to be peeing all day long. It's horrible. Your body's working hard at moving that water. And then when you stop putting it in, your body's still conditioned to get rid of that water. So what I always tell guys to do is diet your way down. 2, 3 pounds a week is super sustainable. I've done 4 before. Anything more than 4, and you're probably really hurting your ability to recover. But 2 or 3 pounds a week should come from diet. All right. Do a test water cut where you'll drink the 2 gallons a day for 2 weeks and then cut it completely and see how much weight you drop. And that'll be your number, knowing what you can depend to lose just passively with water weight. And then pay attention to your body when you cut carbs, when you cut sodium, pay attention to how much water weight your body holds when it's in the presence of carbs, it's in the presence of sodium. So my kind of rule for guys is, 48 hours out, we cut the sodium and the carbs. 24 hours out, we cut all food and water to the weigh-ins. And then you do the math out on whatever weight you got to diet your way down to get to the place. There's a lot of math. It's algebra, solve for X. And it's going to be a different number for each of you guys, depending on how big you are. Like my guy, Wes, used to fight at the same weight class at me at 165. But while I would sleep off like 9 pounds of water, he would only sleep off like 5 pounds of water. So it's different for different people, depending on how they're kind of composed. But I really discourage doing any like active water loss the day before or the day of weigh-ins. I don't really want you guys in a sauna. I don't really want you guys all wrapped up in trash bags, jumping rope and shadow boxing. You're using energy that you could otherwise use for the fight. And like I said, at the pro level, all that stuff is great. There's nothing wrong with that at the pro level because you have 24 hours between weigh-ins and fight time to be able to recover. But at the amateur level, you don't have that time to recover. The other thing I always make a point to ask people when it comes about deciding on your weight class is, again, you got to figure out what's important for you. So if you need to be the bigger person who hits harder, and you can survive taking the hit to your cardio and your durability, then it's going to be worth it for you cutting more weight. But if you're somebody that's going to have to depend on your durability and your cardio and your pace like a little pressure fighter, you probably don't want to be cutting as much weight. I know for me to get to a weight class where I'd be the tall guy, I'd have to go down to 147. And that's just not feasible. I'm never going to be the tall guy. So for me, there's no point in getting too crazy cutting the weight. Okay. Um, what else do we got? Okay, so that's with hunger pains. The 2 gallons of water helps to answer your question, your average martial artist. Good. Weight cut without hunger pains. I usually chop off a toe or something. Yeah, there you go. Yep, chop off some meat. How do you protect your liver better in Southpaw? That's another good question. That's a really good question. All right. So, how do you protect your liver better in Southpaw? So, it's dangerous fighting as a Southpaw because your liver side's forward. Everybody loves to talk about the Southpaw advantage, but your liver side's forward. What usually happens is Southpaws will be the ones who adopt that half guard. And they adopt that half guard for a couple reasons. Firstly, if we're both up high with our jabbing hand here and we're jabbing, we're going to be running into each other's jabs. And you see this a lot. There's a lot of like hand play and physicality and pushing and shoving to create opportunities, jockeying for position around that jab hand. But a lot of times what the southpaw will do, especially because that liver side is forward, is they'll commit to having the low hand. So the orthodox guy jabs high and he takes the high ground. The southpaw swings up with his jab and he takes the low ground. And this does a couple things. One, it means that you have something blocking somebody dropping under and jabbing or crossing your liver when you throw your jab. And two, it means that you have an unobstructed path to be able to hit that person. So I'd say experiment with the half guard a little bit. Just make sure that you don't become one of those southpaws that ignores the lead hand. There are so many southpaws that jab so well. You look at Alexander Usyk, you look at Pernell Whitaker, you look at Manny Pacquiao, you look at Marvin Hagler. You know, any of the southpaws that you know of are probably southpaws that jab really well. It's a temptation, it's a trick to fall into when you're new, that you become a southpaw that just waits with the left hand. You're waiting for the 2, you're waiting for the 6, you're waiting to counter. You know, don't wait, create. Get comfortable, even if that jab starts low and it doesn't travel too far from your body. You know, get comfortable throwing that jabbing hand as a southpaw to set up your power side hand, and that'll help you protect your liver. I see Lee's going through this chat and really pruning this. Snapping turtles are the best turtles. I assume that has something in context to what was posted before. Yeah, fight at your natural weight class. Yeah, that's basically kind of what I said. I was like, you shouldn't be cutting too much weight. You certainly shouldn't be actively losing. You shouldn't be actively losing weight the day of an amateur fight. You know, it should be passive. And then the other thing is like, if you're a little pressure fighter, fight at your natural weight class. Yeah, stop yelling. Yeah, that is true. All caps. Come on, Bradford. Orion. How can? Yep, and Lee's already in here with other stuff that we've talked about. Golly, what are you guys doing? Coach is mathing. Yeah, really badly. Cool. Cool. All right. Sorry, working my way through this. My buddy does. Good morning from Harvest, Alabama. Good morning. I, I see him. I got him written down too. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the stuff for the people who are here first. Yep. Okay, but how many Oompa Loompas do you think you could 1v1 with a 1 minute rest in between? Golly. My boyfriend is 6'5, 248. He fought in amateur MMA as a heavyweight. That's great. Excellent. What did you think of Alvarez Crawford? Okay, I'm going to answer a couple of these questions and then we'll talk about Alvarez Crawford a little bit. And Sandra, if you have a question, you put that question in there. That's a statement and it's great. And I'm happy to hear it. Just let me know. Okay, cool. So somebody was asking about footwork, and I have strong opinions on footwork. There are lots of little pet peeves that I have as a coach. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have is I see people using the agility ladder and jumping rope and putting like a plate on the ground and doing like a bunch of little toe touch and toe tap drills, whether it's a plate or whether it's a medicine ball. And those things are all fine to condition your feet to absorb and generate force, to be springy, like you need as a boxing athlete. You're strengthening your feet. You don't want to be flat-footed. You don't want to have weak feet. You want to have strong feet. But those are not footwork drills. You're not doing footwork drills. That's like saying, I'm going to do some punching drills, and then you do like a bunch of push-ups. Okay, that's cool. You're using the same muscles, but it's not a technique. And that's the same thing. You know, if you're jumping rope, that's great. If you're doing those little toe touch drills, that's great. All of those drills are great for conditioning, but they are not footwork drills. All right. They're not footwork drills. All right. What a footwork drill is you're practicing these positions. You're practicing moving around an object, a person. Footwork drills are shadow boxing. Footwork drills are using your double lane or double rope, sorry, using your cross ropes, are moving around the heavy bag or a nice swinging pendulum bag, or trying to move laterally while you're working on the double end bag. Footwork drills are you taking lanes and angles and lanes when you're doing your sparring work. Defense drills are an excellent opportunity for you to practice a bunch of different like layers of footwork. Um, but again, you need to be sequencing techniques in context for you to be doing footwork drills. Otherwise, you're just training your body to be durable enough to box, which is great, but those aren't footwork drills. Okay.